1. I fled barefoot through the backyard, my spine tingling with the fear of pursuit. The grass was cold and wet, and the sound of my name echoed in the chilled mountain air. Aria! Dad's abrasive shout fractured the night again and again, like the bark of an agitated dog. I pushed my legs harder, unable to differentiate between the thud of footsteps behind me and my own quick heartbeats. I could see the vague outline of the barn ahead like a beacon in the darkness, and I blazed toward it, blind to everything else. My only chance of losing Dad was to reach the trees behind it. Get back here! His growl was right behind me. The anticipation of his hand hooking my arm threatened to paralyze me, but I pushed the expectation aside and forced my feet forward. I flew past the barn and into a dense cluster of pines, their branches whipping my face as I raced through them. It was darker in the trees, and I held my hands out like feelers to navigate the way. But it was my knee that found the fence at the edge of our yard, and I stifled a cry as it slammed into the rough wooden post. I clambered over it into Mr. Juillier's orchard. My legs trembled beneath me as I ducked under the apple-heavy branches. The orchard had been neglected for years, and the smell of rotten fruit squishing beneath my feet reminded me how Dad had smelled when he dragged me out from under the piano just minutes earlier. At the thought of him still out there in the yard searching for me, I lengthened my stride and tried to stay on the balls of my feet. When I emerged from the orchard, I started running again, past the cluster of cottonwoods sprawled like cobwebs over Mr. Juillier's vacant house, and across a stream that cut through his land. Frigid water splashed onto my skin, and rocks jabbed into my already sore feet. A sharp one stabbed my heel, and I lunged for the dry bank and stumbled to my knees. I sprang up and kept going, bringing a thick layer of dirt on the soles of my feet. In all the years I'd had to flee from Dad, he'd never found my hiding place. But if I slowed down, he might follow me and discover it, and I would have nowhere to go in the future when his volatility forced me out of the house. I started through a field of long yellow grass that stretched uphill toward the mountain. My lungs felt like they might burst, but I didn't slow down. Dew from the long grass clung to the fray on my shorts, and chirping insects saturated the summer night with their music. I drew in my arms, hoping no spiders or crickets were hitchhiking on my back. I'd taken this path countless times in my 17 years, but the Colorado mountains were always more eerie at night. A chill ran down my spine as I saw a dark movement in the shadow of the trees, and I reminded myself that the only real monster was far behind me. Be brave, I whispered to myself through labored breaths. It wasn't until I entered a grove of aspens skirting the base of the mountains that I felt safe enough to ease my pace. I weaved through a labyrinth of white trunks until I reached a clearing, then stopped and exhaled a sigh of relief. A massive ash tree stood in the center of the clearing, ancient and otherworldly in the silvery moonlight. 5 enormous limbs spread out from the squat trunk like an open hand, and nestled in the hollow of the palm was a treehouse. Using blocks of weathered wood nailed to the trunk, I climbed up to a narrow porch and stepped through an open doorway.